Hello, my name is Jenna Dykman, and I am an Extension faculty member working in Cache County and also a registered dietitian. Today we'll be cooking a summer veggie scramble from the Type 2 Diabetic Cookbook and Action Plan recipe book. This summer veggie scramble is a great breakfast recipe. It uses a lot of great veggies, and it's a great way to get vegetables in your breakfast meal, which is sometimes hard to do. We'll be chopping up a lot of different veggies today, but you can use any veggies that you have left over in your fridge, that you used from maybe your dinner the night before, or maybe a leftover vegetable that you want to use up before it goes bad. All right, we're gonna get cooking today. And as I mentioned, we have a lot of different veggies, and the amount of veggies that you'll be using for your veggie scramble just depends on how many people you're cooking for. If it's just you, you'll just use a little bit of each veggie. If you're cooking for 4 or 5 people, you might use most of these vegetables. Today I've got some mushrooms, some green onions, some shredded carrots, zucchini, broccoli, and some pepper. It's nice to get a variety of colors just because that brightens your scramble that you're making, and it gives you a lot of great nutrients to start the day off right. If you aren't a huge food prepper person, if you don't like chopping up veggies, feel free to buy the pre-chopped food. It might be a little bit more expensive, but it'll save time on prep. But you can also buy the fresh produce and then chop it just right before you're gonna cook your scramble. So let's start chopping a couple of these veggies. We'll start with the zucchini. And I'm gonna just cut up the whole zucchini. So we'll just cut off each end and then just cut them into little rounds like this, about an inch or a half an inch or a fourth of an inch thick. So now that we have our zucchini all chopped, these are a little bit big for a veggie scramble, so you can either cut them in half or cut them into fourths. And I like to just stack the zucchini and then slice them, and that just makes it a little bit easier. So I'm gonna cut these into fourths for our scramble today. Next up is our broccoli, and I have a small broccoli. Again, if you're cooking for more people, you can use a larger broccoli, but this one's nice because we'll just get a couple of pieces of broccoli. So we want to cut off the end of the broccoli, set that aside, and then start to get the smaller broccoli pieces from it. You might have to cut off the end a couple of times, or you can start to chop into the broccoli, whichever you prefer. So I'll just cut the broccoli in half and then cut them into smaller pieces. All right, this is about the size of the broccoli that you want. If they're a little bit bigger, that's okay. If you don't like broccoli, you can always use cauliflower or substitute another type of vegetable that you enjoy. Most people don't put broccoli in their veggie scramble, but take a chance. It actually tastes pretty good once you've got all the veggies in your egg scramble. All right, the broccoli is all chopped, and you can wash your broccoli before you chop it, or you can wash it after. I'm gonna wash it after and just put it all in this colander or the strainer, and then give it a good rinse so it's ready to be cooked. All right, next up we're gonna cut the bell pepper, and I forgot to mention that it's important to wash your veggies before you prep them for your recipe. So I've already washed my pepper, but make sure to take a second and wash your veggies before cutting them. When chopping a bell pepper, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. This is the way that I like doing it, and it makes it pretty easy to chop a bell pepper. So you chop off either end of the pepper and set that aside, and then you take the tip of your knife and cut a line down the side of the bell pepper, giving it an opening, and then you take your knife and cut around the edges of the bell pepper, and this makes it easy to get the inside of the bell pepper out of there. And then I'm gonna use half of the bell pepper for this recipe, so I'll just cut it in half, and then I'm gonna chop it into strips and then dice it up. With the leftover pepper, you can cut out the top of the pepper and use the end and save them, and it might be a nice snack for later in the day. And then lastly, I did buy some pre-chopped mushrooms, but they're a little bit big for our scramble, so I'm just gonna chop them up a little bit more. If you bought mushrooms that haven't been chopped, take a second and chop those mushrooms right now. We don't need too small of mushrooms because they will shrink once you're cooking them, but this is about a good size of the mushroom that you'll want for the scramble today. Next up, we'll be scrambling up the eggs before we cook them with the veggies in the skillet. Depending on how many people you're serving, like I said before, you might use 2 eggs or you might use 6 eggs. So today I'm gonna use about 5 eggs, but you can just adjust the recipe based on how many people you're cooking for. So first we'll be putting the eggs into the bowl. And whenever you are using eggs, you make sure you want to wash your hands after you crack the eggs, just to keep everything food safe. So I'll wash my hands really quick. All right, so next up in our recipe, we are going to make the veggie scramble. Today I'll be using a skillet, but you can also cook the eggs on the oven or on the stove as well. So I've got all of my veggies cut and ready to go. We're gonna turn our heat on about medium heat. And we'll let the pan warm up for a second and then pour in our oil. So I'll be using olive oil today, about a tablespoon, and this will just help because we are going to stir fry our veggies first. And so we'll have an oil base in our pan, and that'll help to cook the veggies nicely. If you wanted to reduce your calories for this meal, you can use a cooking spray. That is an option. It's up to you whether you want to use olive oil or just a cooking spray. Okay, so now we're gonna pour the oil into the pan. You can measure a tablespoon, or once you get more familiar with cooking with oil, you'll be able to eyeball how much oil you'll need for a recipe. And then once you have the oil in the pan, you can just move the oil around to make sure it gets to all parts of the pan, and then it'll be ready to put your veggies in. And when you're putting all your veggies in, you can make sure that you're putting enough in so you have a good veggie to egg ratio. If you don't like as many veggies, start with a lower amount of veggies, and over time, if you cook this recipe more, you may want to add more veggies on. It's kind of just an experiment, and it's what works best for you. So we'll throw some broccoli into our skillet, and then we'll put some zucchini in there. Make sure to break them up because they tend to kind of stick together. And then I'll put some of the peppers in here. And then the mushrooms. And then I've got my shredded carrot that I'll be putting in. And then I have some chopped green onion as well that I'll put in too. So this is what it's looking like. It may seem like a lot of veggies, but just remember that when you cook veggies, over time they will start to shrink, and so it won't be as many veggies as it looks like. I think I might add a few more zucchinis. And then the rest of the mushrooms and the peppers. As you can see, they've cooked down a little bit. If you notice, if you added broccoli to your scramble, it's become a lot greener, and that's something to look for when you're cooking broccoli. The mushrooms have shrunk a little bit and turned more brown, and the peppers have softened up as well as the zucchini. So before you put your eggs into the skillet, you want to make sure that you have a nice even layer of veggies in your skillet or in your pan, and that just makes sure that the eggs get throughout the veggies when you cook them. So today I have some Parmesan cheese. You don't have to add cheese into your scramble, but it's just another option that gives it some more flavor as well. Before we pour our eggs into the skillet, let's turn our heat down to about medium-low. We don't want our eggs to cook too fast. We want to give them some opportunity to simmer in the pan, mix with the veggies, and really fluff in the pan before they cook. So I just turned it again about to medium-low heat. All right, so now we'll pour our eggs into the pan, and make sure that you pour all around the veggies, so you're giving it a nice good layer of eggs. You can use your kitchen utensil to move the eggs around, or you can tilt your pan to get the eggs to every part of the veggies. And this is what we're kind of looking for when we're cooking them. You'll let the eggs rest a little bit in the pan before you start to move them around. Again, that'll give them an opportunity to cook in the pan, mix with the veggies, and then we'll start to stir the eggs around as they start to cook. Now that the eggs have rested in the pan a little bit, you can start to move them around and get them incorporated in with the veggies. The eggs are about halfway done. That's when I pour in the cheese. I spread out the eggs and the veggies a little bit and just give the eggs a nice layer of cheese. And then you can incorporate the cheese by just mixing up the eggs. The amount of time you cook the eggs for depends on your personal preference. Some people like a little bit runnier eggs, other people like well done eggs. And so at this point, you can cook the eggs to your liking, and then they're ready to go, and you can serve them for you and whoever's eating with you. All right, so my eggs are cooked, and I will just serve them on the plate. We want to make sure that we are serving a good portion. So you can use your spatula, or you could use a measuring cup to serve your eggs for the day. So we'll just put it on our plate. And I love serving up this scramble because it looks so colorful on our plate as we're serving it. Again, you can use different veggies. You can also add in some spinach. I actually really like to use purple cabbage. That gives it an extra flavor. So get creative as you continue to make this recipe. And a great thing to add on top is maybe some salsa. That gives it a nice flavor. Other things that you can add to your meal is maybe some fruit, some whole grain toast, and that can help you get all of the food groups for your breakfast and start the day off right.